to another of our drone flights over the lava fields in Iceland. There's our able and amazing drone pilot there, Johan from NatureEye. Give a quick wave, Johan. Say hello.
Hello, everyone. We're going to do it old school today in our beloved old location here at Arnarsetur, just north of the Blue Lagoon. We're going to fly north towards the northern part where the most recent eruption was. And it's going to be sunset in an hour. So on our second flight, we're going to fly south over the steaming crater row and take a look at Grindavik in all its beauty, bathed in sun. All right, so take it away.
Okay,
Shawn,
yeah.
it's all yours.
Excellent. All right, so we'll go ahead and take off here. Remember how to go. Thank you, Johan. And here we are. So again, big shout out and thank you to NatureEye for allowing us to continue to do this. Flying over the lava fields, just as interesting as when we do this when there's an eruption. You'll remember last time we did this, we may be jump starting the eruption. It seems like it, at least with a data point or two, when Johan and I do these live stream flights, we have an eruption quite soon. Could happen. You never know. What's your thought on that, Johan?
My thought is exactly what we discussed on that stream we did after. Yeah, just to refresh, we did a stream from exactly the other side of the lava fields from Fagradalsfjall Mountain on July 15th. It's on Shawn's YouTube channel. It's one of our best. But after I got home, right after midnight, around 1 a.m., we had the alarm sound. So I was like, oh no, I have to go there again. So my thought is basically we should hold back on our predictions. Last time we said, it's not going to happen until a month from now.
Yes, we have been humbled by the volcano. So
we sure have. We sure have.
The volcano will erupt when it's darn good and ready.
Yep, that's was my thought exactly.
In the meantime, we can check out some of the nice geologic features. Johan's arranged this awesome flight with good lighting. Remember, you can go to natureye.com and book one of these flights for yourself or a friend or family member. Use the code ShawnFly, my name, ShawnFly. That'll get you 10% off. Yeah, great experience. Take photos, take videos. And we've been able to just really document so much of these eruptions over the last, I guess, 2 years now. Just so much of this has been documented, not by just the webcams, but especially our ability to use the drone to get into these areas that are otherwise pretty inaccessible and really see up close what's happening.
Yeah, and here you can really see bathed in sunlight with some shadows, the sort of contrast between the older lava fields, the newer ones, and the overgrown ones from around 2,300 years ago, right there on the left.
Yep.
We're heading towards what is the August 23rd crater.
The big one there, let me see.
Wait. No.
That's
no. Yeah. No. We're heading for the July 16th crater. So on that night, it started erupting right after midnight on July 16th. It lasted until August 4th, and we were able to do, also that other stream we did just after, we did a stream on July 15th in the sun, which was awesome. And of course, during the night when the eruption began. But then a few days later, we did one. We play it on the TV down at Papa's restaurant in Grindavik all the time for groups of tourists. That was in the dark. Remember, during this time, there's only like an hour and a half where it's kind of almost dark. And that one was just amazing. I mean, just frame rate, quality, resolution was
one of
flawless.
Our greatest hits highlights, right?
I would say so. I would say so, yes. So now you're heading up towards the August 23rd last year eruption.
Okay.
That was a short one, a powerful one, really inaccessible. It was terribly windy the whole time. And mind you that here to the left and right, there are literally no roads. So we had these series of earthquakes now in the next system the next fissure to the east around Krýsuvík. That was yesterday, over 4 Richter scale, twice actually during the day. So if it moves over there, it'll be better for us drone pilots because there's like more road accessibility and stuff over there.
Yeah, so that would be good for getting in there quickly and
It would be good for us, Sean.
yes.
That's what you meant. So you have this awesome view here of these craters bathed in the sun here. It's just amazing.
So what's this one I'm looking at here? I've lost track of these. Your map now. This is
Uh,
our August one. May.
oh no, May 29th is the one down south. Remember
Oh yeah,
our
yeah. That's the
favorite?
Is this the Skeletor one here?
Let me just see. I have a 5-inch screen here on my RC. You're the one with the big screen, Sean.
I know the drone.
No. This is just the one we were aiming for.
See some of the area degassing. And what's interesting here is how much and you've probably been able to witness this as much as anyone on, but the color's changing, right? As this rock oxidizes, as it degasses, get deposited. Do you see that pretty noticeably from, I guess not day to day per se, but maybe?
You do. So it's both, like decolorization and weathering. You see how the new lava fields always look dark, mortar-like black, and then they sort of turn dark gray and then a little bit light gray. Now, the oxidations from all the metals in the basalt that comes up, of course, form all these colors. You only see them when the lava field is baked in sun. As we mentioned before, we have the red for the iron oxide, we have the blue for the copper oxide, and then, well, the whole periodic table basically. But of course, this is pure basalt, which coming from this eruption.
Yeah, that's a good indicator there.
Yeah, it's doing a little gimbal freak out here, but that's fine. Just position myself a little better.
Yeah, a couple different vents here. We've got this main spatter cone view here, but there's a secondary one just left of it that's a little bit lower that still has a nice crater to it. And then even to the left of that kind of half semicircular shape for another vent. These, again, all start out as the fissure eruptions or cracks where we get the erupting lava fountaining, and eruption tends to concentrate into primary vent.
Yeah, precisely. So this all opened up on July 16th, and Sean has some videos of it also on his YouTube site. Also on our NatureEye YouTube site, we do have some videos, although we are really too busy to attend too much to it. Because of course our business model is, it's your flight, you fly the drone, you do the pictures, and they're all yours.
Yeah. Hole at the bottom of this.
Yeah, a little cave in there.
Yeah, a little lava tube.
I hope nobody was like there trying to find his drone or something.
Yeah, hopefully not. And then this was also the eruption in July when we had for a period of time, we had a phreatomagmatic event where the lava was mixing with some groundwater. And you've sent me some really awesome footage of that where the jets of steam are coming out and it's throwing out blocks of material as well.
It's absolutely amazing. So you have these steam vents coming out. The white ones are the fresh ones, only groundwater, like you mentioned, and then they turn almost blue before they turn
sulfur,
light gray, and then dark gray, and then you see, like a zipper opening up. You see the lava start flowing. It's really amazing.
Yeah, so
that was the smaller one, remember?
Yes, yeah, that was a little here. Yeah, I'll talk to you about this more later, but while it's on my mind, I just Texas. Time I go to one of these, I should present of what we've been doing here. I don't think the geologists, or most of them, probably that this technology is available. Great way for them to document in real time eruptions taking place. That phreatomagmatic event, example of that.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So the lava field here from 2021 is very accessible to tourists. They've got this whole road network of hiking paths with road signs and, you know, parking lots and facilities, bathrooms. Whereas this lava field, because it's not deemed safe yet, there isn't really any way to hike into it or see it like we see it now. You can only see it from a distance of, say, 3 or 4 kilometers. So yeah, flying with NatureEye is really the only way to just peek into the craters like we are doing now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the best way to kind of see everything close and see the action the way you'd want. These are great here. Yeah, we have. This is our first time flying over these craters since the eruption. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, at least yes. Our last stream was during the latter stages of the last eruption.
Right.
So, and this is a great weather opportunity in this sunlight.
So this larger spatter cone here, if I had to just guess all it is looking at it, it's probably a good 100 meters or so tall. I don't know if you have a sense of pretty
I
large.
haven't. I know my good friend Isak Finnbogason from Iceland FPV has actually measured it, although I still have to do it with my drone, where I actually use a proper altimeter, not GPS, but you know, a barometer one, which I calibrate down by the ocean, and then wait, we got focus off now. Ah, it's good. It's good again. That's good. So why don't you fly manually towards our favorite ice cream scoop mountain in the sunlight, just so you can get more manual flight time out of our battery here?
Which way are the winds out of today?
They are actually coming from right behind us now. So directly from the north, almost. Yeah, so just
Crater Row, is that?
just yaw to the left. No, sorry, yaw to the right.
Yeah.
The other left.
Yeah, so there's a nice view of the whole Crater Row, southwest in Blvd.
Yeah, that's where we'll be flying on our next flight. It's better to just use the throttle forward and then yaw left and right, because if you strafe left and right as you go forward, it's not really very efficient battery-wise.
Yeah, it's trying to do two things at once, kind of.
Oh yeah. So my mother's an artist. She does paintings and copper etchings, and for her, looking down at these lava fields here, it's just an endless masterpiece of art.
Yeah, just all the textures and patterns.
It's just amazing, really.
Has she been inspired by some of the lava?
She was here with me in the car on one of our streams. That's
oh, that's right.
a year ago or so, I think.
This one.
So yeah,
that's the August crater there. I think.
Whoops. It wants to go home automatically.
Yep.
I'm going to say
take over.
Now, of course, we want to showcase, because now you can see on the screen that the user's controls are disabled. That's when it flies automatically or when I'm flying. But during our flight, you could see those two big circles on the screen. You can hide them, of course, as you can hide all those telemetry dials and such on the screen. But of course, me and Shawn like to showcase the whole user interface, so the viewers can see how intuitive and easy it is to use our
power
platform.
Plant there. Yeah, and it's probably worth mentioning that when you take photos on this, it's just the photos. You're not getting the controls and everything you're seeing on the screen. So the photos are just,
of course
yeah.
not.
I just want to make sure people realize that.
and they're not screenshots at all. Anyway, so the video stream it's 1080 HD quality, but the photos are actually 8K, and they're shot on the SD card of the drone. They're uploaded after the flight, and they're available on your photo album on our website for you to download or share directly to your social media or whatever, if that's your thing. Now, we mentioned before that this mountain is very typical of a subglacial eruption. That's why it has this ice cream scoop shape. So, this is during the latter stages of the last ice age, I'd say 70,000 years ago or so, where it erupted here under the glacier. It doesn't penetrate through the glacier, but then forms this awesome shape here. And now you can really see the contrast here. So this is from the November 21 eruption, almost a year ago. And see how it looped around here.
Older lavas.
So if anyone from Vågar is watching this stream, then if the next eruption is going to be here to the north, then it's just downhill all the way to Vågar. Although there's a big depression, not really a valley, can't really call it that, but it has to be of significant size and volume if it's going to fill it up and then keep flowing towards Vågar. Let's hope not, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, bigger chance it'll be, close to where we've seen these past eruptions, sort of in between all these cones we've been looking at. But anything could happen. That's something
That's the more likely
system.
Scenario, yes.
Yeah.
And I might add that we're always so lucky here in Iceland. The ash cloud just blows over Europe and doesn't go to Reykjavik, or the lava flow just stops right next to the road or the airport or whatever. But your luck's got to run out sometime, so I guess you cannot just count on that.
Just taking it one eruption at a time here. All we can do.
One eruption at a time. That's it's a good life motto.
You have a friend there with you? Looks like there's 2 cars.
Is there? No, no, there's not.
Okay, sorry. I thought I saw it.
You're seeing double, my friend.
Maybe.
Yeah, and by contrast, you see Mount Thorbjorn's got these ridge lines sticking out. That's where the eruption has penetrated through the glacier, forming these ridge lines.
And there's faults up there too. There's actually a bunch of cliffs up on Thorbjorn where the fault has offset the layers and shows up nicely on Google Earth and drone images.
It's absolutely unique actually, because it's got these 2 ridges and like a valley between.
Yeah, they run sort of northwest southeast along with all these other faults. And all right, so we'll come in for a landing here, friends. Let Johan switch out the battery, then we'll go do another flight to the south, to a little bit different area. So while he's switching that out, just want to remind folks that they can go to NatureEye.com and check out the flights that are available, not only in Iceland, but in other locations. And again, these are great gift ideas. So as we kind of get closer to the holidays, something you might want to share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, let them fly the flight. You can actually do this as a team. You can actually do this with more than one person. They're starting to use these flights in schools and letting children kind of learn the landscape and the geology through these drone flights. So a great opportunity and something that's really enhanced our ability to understand and document these for the past, 2 years or so. We'll let him switch that out. We'll do another flight down to the south. And then after our flight, we'll let Johan have his evening to himself, and then we'll do a little bit of an update on what's been going on just with the data, and also do any questions that you might have. But nice view there of the first snows that they received in Iceland. So it's already kind of turning towards winter a little bit.
We haven't actually received a snowfall there. This is just sort of like the snow line freezing, coming down the hill. You can see it's halfway down now.
Okay.
So especially where we've flown up in Lake Mývatn in the north, you can see the snow line in the distant mountains just moving slowly.
So when did
creeping slowly down.
When did that snow fall that we're looking at there? Is that a few weeks old or?
No, it's just freeze basically.
Oh, okay. So it's not even really snow. It's just
No, it's just water
oh, like a
freezing basically.
frost line. Yeah, I gotcha.
Precisely.
Okay.
So now you can yaw right. So I'm getting out of the car again because I sound like I'm inside a sardine can. Right. So yeah, you can just head straight there towards the outgassing crater row. Let's get the lighting right here, and then once you're there, follow it. Just head straight now. Let's
Okay.
catch. Let's catch the whole crater row. So
Right,
just
and
fly
then
straight.
go that, and then head to the southwest. I got it.
Precisely. Yeah. You can do a low pass if you want, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
we're kind of high up, but that's fine. So yeah, these are. I haven't hiked here. Well, you're not allowed to, but you can see it almost looks like a road network here. The split between the two flows here.
Right. Yeah, it's like just different textures, viscosities of these lavas give them a little different look. There's a nice channel there. It looks like on the left side, up against the
Yes.
hill.
You remember on the November 21 eruption, the middle crater was the one that this flow coming towards us was coming to the west and just flowing here like an Amazon river really fast, looping around the Blue Lagoon all the way to the rear, to the southwest side, and quite amazing.
Have they done anything with the berms around the Blue Lagoon, or are they just kind of holding pat with what they have?
Yeah, they've already proved themselves. They're fine. If there's a flow down there, it'll just loop around it, and
they can seal off the parking lot.
Yeah, we can always build another parking lot. New Blue Lagoon, new power plant, less so.
Yes, we got some of the fractures down below us here, where the flow cooled and it's brittle on the surface. If it starts to have stress or be pulled away, get some of these open fractures. See a little bit of a channel there, right of center, flowed out from the craters on the west. And then these things are just actively degassing, and this can go on. Well, we've seen this go on a few years now from a lot of these, and several more years. Hot lava that's meters or tens of meters down, still cooling, gassing. So get in here right over the top of these things and head toward southwest towards the town.
Yeah, precisely. And you can dip it a little lower if you want, just to get a low pass over these here to the right. I've been flying here both private flights and group flights during some extreme weathers, and well, it never looks the same. So you can book a flight here, you can do a flight, and you think you've done that, been there, but your next flight's going to be completely different.
Right.
So we will just, yeah, I mean, we were just mentioning how the colors change here. The sunlight during the summer, although we didn't get sunlight the whole summer, it has really changed the colors. You can see it's much more light gray, white. Oh yeah, take some photos. I always forget to remind you and others. So yeah, the outgassing is quite hefty now. It's always a sign of an eruption being imminent. No, it wasn't raining. That's not the thing. It's just it's never the same really. Sometimes the outgassing is just along the fissure itself. Sometimes it fans out along the fissure.
And a little bit depends on the air temperature. So if it's colder, you see a little bit more, and then the sun angle, right? Those are factors as to how visible it is. Nice cone there with the western wall that kind of picks up and then collapsed.
It would be nice to fly with a ground penetrating radar and just map all this, and then do it again like a month later or a couple of months later. You don't really see what's going on underground below the surface, but
Does anyone use LiDAR on some?
Well, there was a project last year flying a pattern over all of Grindavik with a ground-penetrating radar to map all the cracks. It wasn't really successful. They ended up just driving with one along the streets because that was the main thing. Because see if the road network was safe. Although now, for the first time, they during a meeting in Grindavik some time ago, they have actually declared the town safe to live in and build. So we are really aiming for a reopening of Grindavik in the fall of 26. Hopefully, schools, kids, retirement homes. Well, I think it's going to happen because the people of Grindavik are really anxious to move back, and some people are. Whether it's possible to completely, start over in 26 in the autumn, we'll see.
Have you noticed the town a little bit more like opening up open now, or business been open?
There are the same businesses still, although we do have everything we need. We have Papa's restaurant, we have a gas station, hardware store, we have a bakery.
Oh, so the gas station's open again.
Well, there's actually more than one, but the gas station down by the harbor is actually an old hardware store where you can really buy anything you need. And but the adjacent towns where many inhabitants live are just 10 or 15 minutes drive away. So there's a lot of people who actually sort of they're living in Grindavik, but not entirely. But of course, the fishing harbor is active. There's a lot of businesses open. So it's only missing the schools, the children, and that's really when that's really when it will come alive. All right. So here we have the craters from the longest eruption, the 9-week eruption from February into April last year. And it really looks like a work of art.
Yeah, just these sort of just cones that are a little bit kind of nested, each other lapping a bit.
Yes, our Grand Poobah, the Red Devil, or whatever.
How steep the slopes are. They dip a little lower.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll stop you if you do anything.
See the red line on my. Feels just such a sexy crater.
Let me just for 1 second.
Yeah, if you want to wheel around and give it.
No, I'm just going to switch to photo mode and change the EV settings because they're separate for the photo mode and the video mode. So we're looking at video mode, but I have to set the photo settings right. All right. Yeah, just loop around it, or orbit, we call it.
So yeah, folks, this is pushing buttons on your joystick or our headset or anything. Play Pong, really old school Atari game or something. Do this. It's pretty easy. Controls there. W is up, S is down. Two other controls, but basic, and the more you do it, the better you get.
If you can go forwards and left and right, that's already enough.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah,
interesting. It's so much more oxidized here.
Yeah, it has been outgassing quite violently recently. So
yeah, you can see all the. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying we are building those walls you mentioned, or actually extending the wall that covers the north side of Grindavik. Now, there was some concern that there might be a lava flow coming from this area here or to the north, flowing down there. I think it's unlikely, but we just like to to play it safe, and also because people are just much more serious now about Grindavik being opened sooner, and they're hardy people in Grindavik, and they are planning to move back, and
Yeah.
this community is like very strong. So you remember in the beginning, it was all like, oh, it's all over for Grindavik. This is
Yeah, it
not
was
going to be
very,
for the next years
yeah.
or a decade or whatever. But I think we always knew that that was not going to happen. But in geology,
Well,
you never know.
certainly when like the earthquakes were happening, and then the first eruption came in December, and then the one right in town that we documented in January. I mean, if you'd asked me on January 15th, what's the long-term forecast for Grindavik, I would have said, like, 95% chance that town's not on the map in like a couple weeks or a couple months. But it's proven us wrong, and the berms and the mitigation structures they put in place have proven their worth for sure. Um, and it's just again a good case example of you can sort of live with this dynamic nature threat backyard, willing to probably make some concessions possible.
Absolutely, Sean. And we've built up some great experience and know-how and expertise in how to do this in real time. You cannot really, well, you can outline this, but you cannot really plan it exactly because you don't know exactly where it's going to come up. So I suggest now, Sean,
Yep.
you just pull the drone upwards.
Okay.
We're going to lose signal if you go much further because of where I am located.
Like I just did.
All right, all right, all right.
Blue
That's
screen.
fine. Oh, you got the blue screen.
It says poor internet connection.
All right,
Lost video.
right.
Just so fun to
Right.
revisit, all these places that we saw the birth of, right? Like we were there to see so many of these landforms come into existence. Back and see what it looks like when the hot red stuff is no longer hot and red.
Do you have video again?
No, I can see you're higher though.
Oh,
Oh, now I'm
I have
good.
full.
Yep, I'm good.
All right, because I have full signal.
Okay.
When it says poor internet connection in the bottom left corner, that's your connection, Sean, not mine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I just pulled up here to get a nice view of Grindavik. So I'm going to
Yeah.
switch to the zoom camera and give control to you. So why
Okay.
don't you just remember that we have this annoying digital zoom range between 2.3 and 7.1.
There's the
So it's
berm. Talk about this in the update a little bit more, but they are adding some height to the pictures. Height. The picker being raised. Active. It all depends on where. So you can see.
all right. Wait. I'm going to give you control again. We have
Oh,
more than enough battery.
yeah. Just when I got the moving it.
Let's get it again.
Yeah, zooming in for me. Yeah, so you can see excavators. Some right. So we don't think they're working round the clock, but they're working. Pretty long days. Probably out.
12-hour shifts,
Yeah,
most definitely.
there you go. 12-hour shift. Raising these berms, and that requires them to quarry material nearby, load it in the trucks, come out, dump it, move it around. So it looks like you can see, I mean, I'm just armchair quarterbacking this, but you can see where the dump truck's going in there. He's going to dump the material, and then you can see the equipment on the left is a little higher. So I'm imagining that might be the height kind of going for. And then they're just dumping in material, packing it, moving it around.
Yeah, and we can remind people that, you know, these walls, they don't stop the lava flow, but what they do is they bend the lava flows. It's shaped like a horseshoe around town, like a double horseshoe around town.
Mhm.
So you can see how the lava field has looped around here, almost down to sea on the west side, and the
Yeah.
same on the east side, all the way down to here. So let's keep it safe because it's kind of windy.
Yeah, you can go
And
ahead and take over if you want. Back. Great.
right, let's do a flyover here and try and get a good EV setting. And so we're gonna do a fast flight over the entire crater row here.
Excellent. Yeah, so if you fly one of these drones like I just did, don't worry about wrecking it or crashing it. You have Johan or whoever the drone operator is to take over if you're too low or too close. It's pretty simple. The safeguards are there. You can't screw it up. You're gonna take off to get photos. It'll fly over and spend time on as much as you want. If you're maybe an artist like Johan's mother and you just want to hover the drone for 20 minutes and stare at the textures and patterns in the lava and take photos, you can do that. Cover more ground and go over the craters. There's just lots of options. So even if you were to book repetitive flights, like Johan said, over the same area, it's different lighting, different conditions. It's going to look different. You're going to end up with different photos. And it's just great learning experience to kind of be able to sit in your home, wherever you might be located, and operate this drone on the Reykjanes Peninsula over these very young lava fields and document it. Nice, just really cool. So lucky. Section
So we got a
tiers. Yeah, go ahead.
bird's eye view here.
Yep. So presumably, I mean, some of these places where the outgassing is more pronounced are probably areas, I'm just guessing here, but places where the thickness of the lava is greatest. That's going to be typically where you get the spatter cones. The lava has built up to probably a few tens of meters maybe, and so you have such a thick pile of lava in that area that takes a lot of time for it to completely cool off, and so there's a lot of heat and gas escaping from that interior, and it's working its way up through all the fractures, cracks, the existing flow field, and so you get these cool looking scenes like we have right here.
It's outgassing even more than I was here a couple of days ago.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's actually outgassing more. I think my guess is maybe it just visibly looks more active just based on conditions.
Oops. Sorry, I ruined the signal there just for a second.
Good. So you've been keeping busy with flights in the area?
Keeping busy with flights
Yeah,
and
if people book a flight with you, there's still room and there's
all
and
right.
sees this and wants to book a flight with you, able to do that fairly soon based on the weather or out a few.
My calendar is open every day. I only have a few hours during daylight hours. Of
Okay.
course, during the eruption, it'll be open into the hours of darkness. But yeah, all right. We'll get some good winds to get home here.
Is tourism still in full force, or have you noticed a little bit of a downtick with the
Oh, full force.
season?
The season is ongoing. It'll probably go on until we are into uh,
Yeah.
the eruption, and that's a little mini season there, of course. Volcano tourism. Then we got Christmas, New Year's, Northern Lights season.
Hmm.
So yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, plenty of things going on.
We're going to be quite short on battery here, but we'll be fine.
We have a good success rate. All the flights you've done, very few drones lost to low batteries. I only know of one incident.
Oh, I forgot to put it into sports mode.
Yeah, the alarm
Oops.
makes it.
It is a little ominous. It's quite cold.
See the landing pad. You're almost there.
Yep. Almost there.
Quite frequently. Big pauses and then big eruptions. Alternating between the two. Yeah, you cut it pretty tight. You got it. That moss is soft. If you have to put it down in the moss, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I might. That's fine. There's a hiking path here.
Yeah. Hit one of those big cracks.
No, that's fine.
Well, this has been great, Johan. Thanks again for setting this up, being willing to go out and do this for us. I hope our viewers book a flight with you and NatureEye. Again, great opportunity, great way to. Well, yeah, we are going to go down to the mall. Fun.
No, I'm setting it down here on purpose.
Yep.
I'm just gonna walk down and get it. It's fine. It's nice and soft.
Yeah, spongy.
See?
There you go. Nice up close view of Icelandic moss for everyone there. Very good.
All right, Shawn,
Extra.
take it away. I'm gonna go and get the drone.
Okay, I'll cut out.
All right.
So thank you so much, Johan. I'll be in touch, my friend.
Okay.
All right,
All
take
right.
care.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, goodbye, Johan. All right, hey folks, still see and hear me okay. That was pretty cool. So we got to fly over both the north end and sort of the central part of Crater Road there. I've got the webcam view from the top of Fjordbjorn there, looking to the east across the Crater Road. So that's essentially what we just flew over, that area. And Johan is kind of over here on the left side of this image hill here. Again, thank you to NatureEye for letting us do that. Just cool. It's just such a cool opportunity, and wish the drone could just stay up for hours on a battery charge. Could swoop around and zoom in on things. But it's still great technology. We're lucky to live in this day and age where we're able to do this. And who knows, it's amazing to think about in 20, 30 years, how much will this change? How more advanced will this be? Great opportunity. Very good. Good stuff. So what we'll do next here is we will do an update here on the latest information and data we have coming out of Iceland. Not a whole lot of new information. I just did a last update that long ago on the 14th of October. So we'll just update you on a few new things here, and then we'll go to questions you have. There's not a new Met Office update. So the last one was 14th. They'll probably put one out probably next Tuesday or so. And again, thanks to Amanda Joe for creating our live chat today, but also sending me some information, helping me get the update put together. So here we have let's start with the earthquake information. Again, this is our last 24 hours. So you see not a lot going on in the area of interest here where we're expecting the next event to occur. Looks like we've had only one magnitude 1 earthquake, 4.3 at Indavik. This cluster of quakes over here in the Krishevik area, these have been going on and off for the past week or so. And this is what we typically see anyway. We see quakes here quite often. We even see quakes around Fagradalsfjall quite often. Quakes to the west and southwest occasion, although just the last 24 hours looks like pretty quiet. If we look at the past week or so, here's a little better view of what's been going on the peninsula over the last week. Again, there's that one magnitude 1 that we just looked at. That's a 1.4 from a couple days ago, so on there yet. 8. And then a few to the west, and then again this cluster here around Lake Klevervat. Like the biggest one there was this 3.6. A few others in here. We'll talk about these probably when we get to the questions. I know when people see the earthquake activity over in this area, that raises some concern that maybe we're going to see some sort of eruption in that area. But I'm not concerned as of yet. We're just not seeing the signs we would expect to see that would be indicative of magma movement and some sort of volcanic or near surface event taking place. So for now, these quakes, while magma's probably could be involved a little bit, don't know for sure, it seems more likely that these are either tectonic quakes or maybe there's some fluid interaction that's causing some of these, as we could call them, swarms. That's quakes there. So again, the earthquakes aren't too super informative or anything really crazy going on there, but that's a good data set to keep checking on, because when we see a cluster of quakes in this area west of the power plant and north of the town, that would likely be some of the first signs we would expect to see as this next event draws closer. Keep checking the earthquake data. Good thing to do. I do that a couple times a day usually. If we look at the GPS data, here to Svartsengi system, start with, let's actually go to, I'm going to use different, this site here. Yeah, so all the blue pins here are different GPS stations. Here's Grindavik. You can see the whole peninsula here. Agradalsfjall area and those flows over here. Ray. We can actually look at that same plot, but maybe look at it full year time. Bigger. So this is for the Svartsengi GPS station, and this gives you a view of the last year. We'll primarily look at the up-down component of motion. So you can see here that we've basically equaled or maybe gone a little bit past the elevation level that we reached prior to the July 18th eruption. That here, and then we're at here, a little bit past that, and this is just for one station. So that's why we talk about we're kind of in the window, so to speak, of this eruption possibly taking place at any point now. Let's look at a couple other, or we can look at the 90-day view too. The last 90 days. You can see that just that steady inflation. It kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. Some of that might be related to the episodic movement of the ground. Could be just the instruments, any sort of interference. The weather can cause weird anomalous data point. And let's look at other stations as well. Here at this one, just south west of the power plant. So if you look at this one, you can see we haven't quite reached the same elevation that was maximum elevation for the last eruption in July. We're high of that. There's a high point there. Data just below this 200 millimeters. So GPS data is something to continue to watch. There's some suggestion that the GPS data is going up much. There's a little bit over time. If we look at the INSAR data picked out of images, nice classic bullseye. You can see 3 color fringes, red to red, color band or centimeter movement. So I guess 3 or so centimeters. September 21st to October 13th. And again, I do sort of pick the more striking and informative INSAR photos to look at. If you come over here to like this one here, this is only a 1-day pass, and so you're not going to see that uplift with just sort of a 1-day pass. You need a little bit more time, especially when the inflation is slower. If you had inflation going for rapid rate, we see something day to day. Slower, you're going to need more time for days between pass to actually see. The INSAR data, and the SAOCOM one, you might say to yourself, well, wait a minute, there's 16 days between those two passes, but the SAOCOM satellite has a little different between the color. The amount of uplift between colors is not 1.5 centimeters. It's actually almost about 12 centimeters. It takes either a lot of uplift or a lot more days between passes to actually see that. So point here is the INSAR data, and the GPS data do show this slow, steady uplift. A couple things on the news front that Amanda Jo sent me. I'll try to tag these. I'll add these to the description if you own. But this is Kristin Daughter, Met Office Chief, head of the Met Office, and just echoing some of the things we've talked about there. Here's Thingy. She talks about that uplift has slowed a little bit here, and that upper threshold is around 23 million cubic meters, and the most likely outcome of this is to have some sort of something happening before Christmas, is the last little quote. Definitely, as we're into late October now, we've probably got about a 2-month window where we're likely to see something. Was exactly what the timing is, days from now, weeks, or months from now. Definitely in that window. Another article that talked to Magnus Tumi Gudmundsson, physicist in Iceland. He talks here that the rate of magma influx has slowed down. It's about 1 cubic meters per second. In comparison, he says there was about 10 cubic meters per second when this began. So rate of magma movement up into the magma storage system down. And then lastly, we kind of talked about this in the flight with Johan. An article about the berms around Grindavik and raising those up about 2 to 3 meters over section, the critical section there, town. What that costs, why they feel like that's important. So another article. Okay, so a couple quick announcements, and then we'll get to your questions. Let's see. So a couple other things related to our community and things that have been going on. I just a Geological Society of America conference down in San Antonio. I did some videos down there, both field videos, those at the conference, just kind of behind the scenes look at what goes on at the organization is trying to do a better job of being a little bit more public facing and involving the public. So even though this is traditionally a professional organization conference where geology professionals, their research and network and such, they're trying to make a better push to invite the general public and have events and things going on that might be of interest to them. So if you're interested in going to these types of things, they have an annual meeting once a year at some city. Next year it's in Denver. But they also have section meetings. So they do geographic sections throughout the US, and they have meetings in different parts of the country that you can go to. Those are a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate, but it includes field trips, there's talks, there's presentations, there's exhibit hall where people are peddling different things. So look for some of those videos from weeks or so. I am going to try to go to, they have a section meeting down in, pretty excited about this because it's basically my field area from a master's thesis, and I haven't been down there and looked at what I call rocks or that area since 2000. So this is an area down in Baja California in Mexico, a town called California. I did my research here, some of these rocks. Probably going to go to the meeting there in April of this next year. They'll have some field trips. I'm sure they'll be looking here in the that's an opportunity. You can go to the GSA website and see where. Okay, a couple other things. I just wrapped up a field trip with folks 2 weeks ago that went from south of Twin Falls over to Yellowstone. So it's basically what I chasing the spot field jackpot. We had about 20 people show up. Did a caravanning style thing where we stopped at a number of places, looked at the geology, discussed it, our way across the Snake Plain, stopped at Craters of the Moon, and then we ended up in Arco. On second day, we did some stops going across the Snake Plain, I guess, in the Falls area. The third day, we worked our way Snake River Plain stops. We did hike buttes here, so impressive, tough cones. That day, the third day, up onto the Yellowstone Plateau, up to West Yellowstone. And then on the fourth day, we actually went to the park, Faithful, day, Geyser Base. Folks continue to park, but it was a great trip. It was my first caravanning field trip. And I think I'm going to continue to do not only that specific trip, but also consider other sort of caravan style trips, because I think really well. We had a great group, really no hiccups or issues along the way. So I will be putting together some more field trip opportunities and put those up on my website. I'll also make an here in the next few weeks as I start to look ahead to 2026. So if you've been doing some of these field trips with me in this region, probably Utah, Idaho region, I do hope to expand a little forward, but we'll put together some of those field trips, get those up. And then lastly, the last thing you're expect to see that might look a little different, you've probably gotten accustomed to background. Really astute observer, you might notice that, wait, how come his bookshelves used to have a lot of books on them? Oh, they don't? Well, our building is getting remodeled here at the College of Southern Idaho, and I will need to be out of this office and into a new temporary office for about 1.5 years. So you probably see a little bit of a background change here behind me. Maybe there'll be apps or something behind me, but I'll be displaced a little bit. I'll need to teach in a different classroom. So for me, that means like boxing up all the rocks, going through all the samples, all the teaching and lab supplies. Quite a bit of work, but I've already kind of started on it. But the point is, over the next few weeks, the background space and what's behind me on dates and other videos, that's likely to change. So just don't be alarmed. I haven't lost my job or I'm displaced. I'm just in a new place on campus. And then after a few years, back in. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our questions. There were a few questions that were sent ahead of time. Address a few of these questions that folks sent, and then use whatever prompts show is live stream. Send your questions in. A question mark emoji there. How those. So one of the questions we received about Iceland. So I did do an update where we had a little cluster of quakes. Basically, it was about 20 or so quakes that were right around the eruption. And those quakes occurred, I think, on the 20th, so a couple days ago. And the question is, why, if it is at the lower, a lot of earthquakes, why eruption already? Basically, this person is asking if we've reached that threshold in terms of magma accumulation and we had this little cluster of earthquakes, why didn't it erupt at that point? And I think the way to think about that is that there was likely As the magma is pressurized, it's filled up whatever space within the rocks that it can. And as it's now starting to push on the rocks, it's generating some of these very small earthquakes, these sort of micro earthquakes. And let's maybe even pull up those quakes real quick, just so people who so here's that little cluster here. So go to Nunavik here, and you can see that little cluster of blue earthquakes. Again, not a lot of earthquakes, and they were very small. I mean, magnitudes here were under magnitude 1. So that's just the magma probably causing small cracks, maybe pressing into small cracks in the rock and generating these small earthquakes. So we need to see a much bigger signal in terms of amount and maybe even magnitude before we get to. Okay, a couple other questions here from folks. A lot of questions about the Kishuvik. I know you probably covered this before, but would you be kind of question for me? Exactly, do scientists tell the difference types of earthquakes, tectonic, ones from water injection, earthquakes that Jason. So thank you, Jason, for that question. It's a good one. So I think the way to consider the earthquakes, and I am not a seismologist or geophysicist, so just take this with salt, is I typically look at sort of the pattern of the earthquake. One pattern we tend to see with earthquakes is a large initial earthquake, what we call the main shock, followed by a bunch of smaller earthquakes, aftershock. And so that would be a tectonic sequence, right? You get stress built up across a fault, the rocks break and shift, that generates that main earthquake, and then you get small adjustments to that new stress regime. Aftershocks that come later. That would be more of a tectonic type of signal. If it was like a fluid related sequence of earthquakes, we've looked at those before at Santorini cluster we talked about and looked at in southeastern Idaho near Soda Springs. Those are going to tend to come in and be much more numerous, probably dispersed over an area, so we don't really clearly see a trend. Whereas with that main shock sequence, we might see the aftershocks, as we look at them on a map, we might see a clear linear arrangement of those earthquakes, which suggests it's happening on one specific fault. If it's more fluid related, it's going to be usually dispersed over a broader area. I think we also had a little cluster of those in northern Nevada that we. If it's more magmatic, it can get a little trickier there. But I mean, for magmatic earthquakes, we're probably also wanting to look at the GPS data and needing to see something moving close to the surface. I would say that magmatic quakes that are deeper seated, maybe 10 or more kilometers down, those are a lot trickier because a lot of times you don't see a surface component of movement that would go with that. So those can be a lot trickier. So that's just a few there about how we delineate some of the differences. Let's see, a couple other questions about the Kishuvik. Lisa, I'd like to know, is there any other cause for this other than their injection of heated the? Well, certainly if you had a geothermal spring, a hot spring, geyser that had a sudden spike in temperature and it was increasing its temperature, then that would possibly be indicative of magma movement. But remember that a lot of times these water systems, they're not really touching the magma body. They're just touching hot rocks that exist well above that magmatic body. And so it could be other things. It could be that there was maybe an earthquake where a fracture or fault was forced open. And so now more water is moving through that fracture or fault system. So you're allowing more hot water to get through and up to the surface. Maybe that's causing a spike in temperature. So there's a lot of different things going on there that could cause an increase in spring temperatures. And it doesn't necessarily have to be related to magmatic movement. probably more likely related to faults and fractures, sort of the plumbing system changing. Maybe there's a different area of hot water, fracture or fault opens up that connects it to other groundwater source, and you get an increase in temperature that way. That's much more likely, and then something related. Hopefully that helps there. And then we'll go. This sent me from viewers here on the live stream. There has been significant subsidence on the Reykjavik GPS stations. Question about whether or not there's an uptick in earthquake activity. The subsidence and seismic activity, are they related? So the question here that's being asked, we go to GPS station, take Blvd and look at other stations here. What you'll see, looking at the past year, is the GPS data starting about June, I would say, of this year, more or less taking a downturn, upwards of 50 millimeters of subsidence dropping in the. It's gone up and down a little bit. It's not a perfect linear trend, but there's a general trend there that going down a little. And then if we look at the earthquake data, look at the whole year, so all of 20. So here is the area around Grindavik. Here's all the earthquakes related to the eruptions that we've seen. Some of these small, probably stress-related quakes, Agradalsfjall. And then over here near Lake Klevervat, you can see the number of earthquakes here. But I think I've done this before in other updates or questions where I've actually gone back 10 years or more for any of quake activity, or excuse me, all this volcanic activity commenced in the Reykjanes Peninsula. And we see similar clusters of earthquakes there. So what I think is going on here is, well, one, I don't know. That's probably the best answer. But we're close enough to what's going on at Svartsengi that we're probably getting some stress conditions changing, so regional conditions causing some of these quakes. And there's possibly some fault systems over here. Now, when you pull up the data from the last year, there's not a lot of great trends, but there's a couple in here. If you look at the green circles in there, there's a trend of quakes there, and some other places as well. But it looks like just kind of a big mess here. So I'm not sure exactly with the subsidence. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you there in terms of why are we seeing about 50 millimeters of subsidence going on. Look at other stations on the other side of the lake. We don't see that. So if we come over here to this side of the lake, see, and there's some patches in the data here, but you can see that there's really no change or substantial change in the elevations over here. So it appears to be, I wonder if it's that one's not showing it. So I guess what I'm saying is we're only seeing it at one specific station here. Might be a good argument to deploy some other GPS stations in this area, see what's going on. Could be that faults in the earthquakes we've had here, there actually is maybe a fault system that's close to this GPS station. Larger faults have actually this. If that was happening episodically with the earthquakes, we'd see sudden bumps in the data versus. So I'm not really sure what the data is there. What I am fairly certain of, though, is really no evidence so far that magma's rise here and expect an eruption anytime soon. Okay, so, oh, and we have Susan on here as well. So Susan, thanks for jumping on as well. And someone, I know we've got some messages here about my mic, so I'm trying to talk directly into the mic. Yeah, so we'll need to look into that again. But hopefully, it's turning my head, the mic's picking things up on. Hopefully, it sounds. Yeah. So if we have looks like we have a list of questions here. We'll probably just do one today. Pinched on. I am trying to talk directly into the microphone, but I also have to turn my head to. So, from Steffi Adcock, are the earthquakes at Reykjavik still tectonic in nature? I know this is shuffled. Yeah, I kind of mentioned that there, Steffi, so hopefully that makes sense. But as far as what I'm seeing with the data and what I've read from others as well, there just doesn't seem to be, any evidence yet that anything going on in the Reykjavik is magmatic in nature. I think because of its proximity to what's going on over here, it's more exciting. If this was all happening 5 years ago, we were having quakes over here. Remember, this is an active plate boundary. A lot of stress on the rocks, and so we're likely to see that stress relieved along different fault systems. But now we have this added stress in the region of this magmatic body that's increasing in terms of pressurizing. Then we get an eruption and it depressurizes. Those changes are probably causing. So it's probably, I would say it's probably a combination of factors. I wouldn't say that they're 100% tectonic, 100% magmatic, and probably not even 100% caused by fluids. It looks pretty messy, and so it's likely that a combination of those. Okay, one more question here. Over the last few days, there have been the east of the Blue Lagoon. Could this suggest that the dike's not going to migrate, right? The dike is a space filled in the rocks. It is a crack, if you will, an open crack that the magma has moved into. The crack was created by all the earthquakes back on October of 2023, and the magma has filled a lot of those cracks and spaces. The dike's not just going to move gradually from one place to another, but it is possible that we could get other earthquakes causing new cracks to open up, or maybe avoiding existing cracks, and the magma might migrate there. In terms of the first part of your question, over the last few days, there have been significant earthquakes to the Blue Lagoon. I'm wondering where those are. So let's go back to the regular data over the last week. Say over the last few days, I'm not. Let's just hit. Fix around Cravat. So the east of the Blue Lagoon. I guess, yeah. So I guess the ones you were talking about was that small cluster. And that small cluster we kind of addressed there. That's just probably, again, related to magma in the existing dike forcing itself into small cracks. Again, these are probably just like cracks that are centimeters width, maybe not even pressure from exerting a force on those cracks that causes. Okay, so got through the questions that were asked. I apologize again for the audio talking. If I had a dime for every mic and audio setting thing I've tried to do, I'd have a fistful of dimes because it feels like it's always a problem. I thought this one had solved it. The mic I'm using currently, this kind of boom mic, pop filter, but again, I get comments. So hopefully this was helpful. It's been fun to get our little community back together to do another flight with Johan over the lava fields there in Iceland. That's been super interesting. We'll, of course, keep you up to date if we see anything else going on. Make sure you like the live stream, comment. Thanks again to Susan and Amanda Joe for setting this up. I'll try to do a little bit more on our next live stream. And I just got back from this conference. So my time is quite limited in terms of preparing anything. Prepare some of the photos, be able to see some videos up as well. And then we'll just kind of keep tabs on this thing. I'll be keeping an eye on Kilauea, which is, I think it's 35. Eruptions over there about every 2 weeks or so. But for now, we'll go ahead for joining in. Thanks to our moderators and our great community. Thanks for making learning so fun for me and others. And we'll see you next time, friends. Hope you had a good time here today. And thanks for your support of the channel.